Welcome to a Parallel Project Training, APM Project Management Qualification podcast based on the APM Body of Knowledge 7th edition. You should be using this in conjunction with our e-learning, podcasts, and potentially a tutor-led course. For more information, please visit www.parallelprojecttraining.com.
Hello, welcome to a Parallel Project Training podcast on stakeholder management for the PMQ. So the assessment criteria here are to explain a relationship between stakeholder analysis, influence and engagement, and explain the importance of managing stakeholder expectations. So this is quite an interesting assessment criteria, isn't it?
Yeah.
Explain the relationship between stakeholder analysis, influencing and engagement. So stakeholder analysis for us is one step in the stakeholder management process. So I think we're going to take a step back and we're going to look at the whole process of managing stakeholders and then look how stakeholder analysis plays a role in influencing and engaging with stakeholders.
Yeah.
And tackle it that way, really. So we expect we should really start by saying what's a stakeholder? A stakeholder is anybody who has an interest in or is affected by the project or program or portfolio.
Yes.
So that's pretty much anyone, really.
Yes. Yes, that's right.
Can I just make a point? A lot of people talk about the stakeholder when they mean the sponsor or the customer. So a stakeholder is anybody who has an interest. So that can be a next door neighbour, a competitor, a user, someone who's got to approve it,
Yep.
member of the general public.
Yeah.
A politician.
That's right.
A newspaper.
That's right.
So there isn't the stakeholder.
No.
The stakeholder is the whole, anybody really.
Yep. All of the above.
So the process we're going to follow has got 5 steps in it conveniently. So identify who those stakeholders are.
Yes.
Analyse the significance of those stakeholders. Plan how we're going to communicate to those stakeholders and then implement that plan and monitor whether that plan's been effective or not. So the identify bit, I think, is the hardest. Because if someone says to you, identify all the stakeholders in a project.
Well, normally, I don't know how you do it normally, but you just ask around and
Networking.
get people in a room or put some post-it notes on the wall or whatever it is. You can go. You generally, we used to get parachuted into customers, and generally the account managers knew who they were, who the movers and shakers were.
That's right. So you find your stakeholders through other people.
That's right. So and then you find out who was influential, who wasn't, and we always used to find that the people that really mattered were never at the top of the tree.
No, the key powerful people.
We used to have a tea lady called Hilda. And she used to walk around doing a job in a plant up in the north. And Hilda used to walk around. She just had one of those kettles on the trolley, And she was like the internet. She was like the predecessor to the internet. You could tell her something, and then within about 10 minutes, it was all over the factory.
She was a true social media.
She was like, she invented Facebook. Forget Mark Zuckerberg. She was the true face.
Yeah.
So, but she was powerful actually because she,
Oh, you've nicely moved on to the next step.
What, analysis?
Analysis.
Have I?
So
no. Just one thing about identification is kind of everybody's potentially a stakeholder, like you say. But the trick is to know who the important ones are and who's going to help or who's going to get in the way. So, and who do I need on my side and who can I ignore?
You've definitely moved into the analysis phase now.
Yeah, but that's the point of identifying them, is you can do that. So don't worry about identifying everybody.
Yes.
Because it's all going to get sorted out at the next stage.
So the next stage is to think about where those stakeholders sit. So we want to pull out those that have high power.
Yes.
Those that are not as influential. And I quite like the way they got this for and against. So people who support the change I'm following, people who are against the change, and whether they're engaged or not. So I might have people who are supportive of the project, but they're not engaged. So how do I need to get them engaged, and how can I get them engaged?
That's right.
And I may have people who are against the project, but high power.
Yeah.
So how can I shift their attitude to the project to flip them to the other side so that those high power but against get engaged in the project?
Yeah.
So I've usually drawn these as 2 separate grids.
Have you? I think it's, I think you're messing about with a few million years of evolution here, aren't you? Putting people in boxes is a bit emotive.
It's limited.
So it's a very, in my humble opinion, this is quite limited, but it's really useful initially.
Yeah.
To get the hang of it, because I think if you follow this process to its logical conclusion, what you're trying to do is move people from one grid to another.
Yes.
So you're trying to genuinely want them to migrate from left to right, to be against it or for it. I think that's a bit naive, I think, to expect to be able to do that. You're not going to, there are some groups of people that are always going to be against HS2.
Yes, but then you have the strength to reduce their power. So not only can you reduce whether they're for or against, but you can also chop their power down.
How are you going to do that?
By getting someone more powerful to tell them to shut up. Basically. So it's not always just moving people across. You can just say, well, you might be moaning like hell, but actually this person over here's got more power than you, and they say press on.
Go and give them a slap.
Yeah. So you are right, though. It is limited to put people in boxes.
Yeah.
And it is people.
It's not the sort of thing you want to leave on a flip chart somewhere either, is it?
And it is people.
Someone comes in and says, "Oh, you got me as low power. I'm going to show you, mate." And
it is people, not organisations.
Oh, you reckon?
Yeah, because you might have, say, think of the cabinet, number 10 Downing Street. All those individuals sitting around the table have personal opinions of whether they support something or not. Those personal opinions are different from what their department might think. So in a team, like I was talking to these guys this week, they had, the business improvement team is against it. But they said, well, actually, there's 5 people in the business improvement team. Some people are against it and some people are more favourable, So,
but that's kind of, you can't do that, though, can you?
Yeah, you can.
Right. So instead of, if you're doing a software implementation, you had the finance department.
The finance department isn't one individual. The finance director might be dead against it.
So if there's 100 people in there, you're going to put 100 Post-it notes on there.
People. But you can't assume the finance department all agree with what the finance director says. The finance department will be made up of individuals, some of which will be supportive of your new system, some of which may not be.
Yeah, I think you're overestimating the value and of this.
What, the power of individuals?
No, the what you're trying to achieve here.
I'm trying to identify the key stakeholders, and key stakeholders are individuals. It does say individuals, doesn't it? Individuals. All groups.
Groups. Yeah.
All groups. Okay, so it can be either. To be.
I don't. Is that my definition or is that theirs?
That's the APM's definition.
Yeah.
Because I've had situations where people in finance were very supportive, but the director was not. So
I get that, but I think to try and if you look at the stakeholders for HS2, you've got about 20 million people.
Yeah, you're not going to put all 20 million on here.
I'll buy shares in 3M Post-its if you do that. But I think I understand what you're saying. Is you've got to be. Not everybody. You've got to be selective. I think is what you're saying. You've got to be careful about if rather than try and stereotype or classify everybody as being in the same pot.
Yeah, so
you've got to be a bit selective about.
That's right. So you might say the local authority are against the project. Well, that's just weak thinking because not everybody in the local authority is going to be of the same mindset.
No, that's right, exactly. And in fact, quite the opposite. When I did that school job and we were trying to move the footpath, turns out that actually 2 bits of the local authority were really up for it.
Yeah,
and then one of them wasn't.
Yeah,
and once we started talking to the people that are up for it, all of a sudden the people that are against it.
That's the point I'm making. Is that it's not. Don't lump people together.
It was still groups though.
Yeah, but it's lazy to lump them all as one because.
Yeah, but it's. Life's too short, isn't it? You can't go around 500 Post-it notes because the consequence of that is
500 Post-it notes. But I'm saying it's lazy to lump everyone together.
Yeah, right. But you can't go and take all of those people. You're going to take all of those people and put them in a communication plan.
Yes.
Because that's the point of the next bit, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you're going to work out.
The next bit is to
what you're going to do with them.
That's right.
You might want them to stay where they are.
Yes, that's right.
Or you might want to try and do things that move them conceptually around this grid.
Yes, that's right.
And that's the whole point. So analysis is not really the end. It's a means to an end. And the whole bit about communicating and engaging with them is the important bits.
Well,
So-
and then the next bit is to make sure that your plan actually works. So that's staying in touch with your stakeholders too.
Yeah.
You know, I've communicated this information to you. Did you understand it? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I quite like the idea of man-to-man or woman-to-woman marking, where you've got that particular individual, can you stay close to them?
Yes, and that's
Because-
something I've seen elsewhere. Is they have a single
Single point of
stakeholder
contact.
owner,
Yeah.
so they don't get mixed messages going to that key.
That's right. It's
key
quite, that's
stakeholder.
right. Especially in big meetings and stuff where you've got two people on your team and one of them says, oh, we can do that.
And, it's
And the
very
other one says,
personal
no,
as
we
well,
can't.
isn't it?
They'll choose who they want to listen to.
Because you may feel people in your team gel with other stakeholders and
Exactly, yeah.
and
There's
it's-
personalities involved, aren't there?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's right, exactly right. You can't step in the way of that. We always used to find it with sales guys where they've been working with a customer for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And eventually they go and buy something, and the project manager turns up, and all of a sudden, they've built up these relationships over those many years and trust.
Yes.
And the project manager tries to usurp that in a way.
Inject into it, yeah.
Yeah, and it never worked. So
Yes.
you always had to, even though that person was ostensibly on your side, you needed them to help you influence the customer.
Yes.
So the whole point about engagement, I think it's a bit awkward to expect us to be able to teach people how to engage with stakeholders, because it's so personal and it's so dependent on the nature of the individuals and the circumstances.
I don't think we can teach people how to do it.
No,
But
that's right.
What this does for me is it stresses the importance of it.
Yes.
So it stresses the importance of thinking through who those stakeholders are and how you're going to engage and influence them.
Yes. That is what
individuals.
we're trying to do.
Yes.
But when it says how you engage with them, you'd be here all day.
It's because it's going to be different for different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
different
all this
things
is
will work,
saying is
yeah.
think about it.
Yeah.
Don't ignore them.
Yeah.
Think about how you could do that.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Because, and that's back to my point as individuals, treating stakeholders as individuals, you might have different strategies for different people in different departments.
That's right. So they also talk about managing expectations, don't they?
Yeah.
And that's kind of quite interesting. Usually that's the most important bit, really. If a job's going to be a bit late,
Yes.
it's not a bad idea to make sure they know that,
Yes.
and kind of how you present that and portray it is going to have a huge influence on how well it's received. So
Yeah, but
managing
you don't want that data leaking out
no.
because then they think, oh, they're keeping secrets from us.
Yeah,
So,
you've got to manage your message.
yes. Which is where coming back to the thing, having clear communication
Visual lines, yeah.
established.
Yeah, and writing a communication plan is not the end of the problem, because you talk about, you have relationships with the people in your team, but they're all talking to each other, and all that indirect stuff.
I always think this is quite scratching the surface of what is a very difficult topic.
It's always been the most difficult thing.
Yeah.
When you talk about, especially in government, when they talk about managing their stakeholders,
Yes.
because they're political.
Yes.
They need quite a lot of political acumen.
Yes.
They need to be really well read, well influenced. They need such a broad church of,
Yes.
kind of knowledge and
Yes.
background to draw on.
Yes.
And it's so different. And one person, it's about understanding personalities. It's the art of the diplomat, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And you always see diplomats as a bit ineffective, but actually they're working behind the scenes.
Sorry, off piece, but I went to a talk by some of the politicians, Tessa Jowl, and I forgot who the other one was. But honestly, the way they talk, you can see why they're politicians, because they explain things in a way that doesn't upset anyone, that doesn't provoke anyone, that you feel yourself drawn into their argument.
Yeah.
Because they have those skills, really.
Yeah. But on the other hand, they can be seen as a bit wet, a bit limp,
Smarmy. Yes.
not very inspiring.
Yes, yes.
They're like grey. They're not black or white. They're like
on the telly.
Some of them do.
When you get your 30-second clip on the telly, they do. But when you see them face to face,
yeah.
they are very good. making an argument and persuading people, you know. And I'm not saying we need to be politicians, but I think we can learn some of the skills of influencing that they
I think. I mean, my experience is slightly different from that, but I think there are good politicians and there are less good politicians, and the less good ones tend to think they're better than they are.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
You've got quite a famous MP, haven't you?
I have.
Yeah, he's quite good. We met him.
We did.
Yeah, he's quite
Did.
face to face. I've always been impressed with him face to face. I think bloody hell. But you don't get loads of people to vote for you if you can't even present. Anyway, we're off piste. I don't know why.
Well, if you can't
we
even-
talked about stakeholders.
Let's
didn't
not
we?
get political.
Influencing stakeholders. Yeah.
We haven't even mentioned Brexit.
No, we've done well. Well, by the time these podcasts are out, that'll be old news.
Will be a referendum to go back in again.
Yes, in 10 years' time. So I'll be listening.
We were talking about it on the radio this morning. Can't believe it.
Yeah. Good. So what do we say about that then? Stakeholders. So it's really important to influence them. It's really important to understand who they are. This process can guide you, but it's not. It's more about the way you approach them and the way you influence them.
Don't expect any
filling a form
rays of
filling a
rays
form
of illumination coming from this.
Good. Thank you, John.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast and found it informative. To find out about our training courses, e-learning or tutor-led course, please go to www.parallelprojecttraining.com.